Logbook week. I guess this would be 41. I knew that asshole was keeping notes. Guess this is my first clue on the solo shift, huh? I'm not stupid. I know what he wants from me. I'm not stupid. But I am an idiot. Why did I think any of this would work? Why did I make his last week so hard? Dragging him across the planet and up a mountain. For some desperate idea from a flower. And when did Kate fucking Kane become the voice of reason in my life? Okay, I know the answer to that one. But I'm better now. This is me better. I'm fixed. Aren't I? Fuck. Maybe I better see Charlie's Kung Fu White Guy. This is 52 Pickup. Hello, and welcome to 52 Pickup, a podcast about the greatest comic you have never heard of. I mean, hopefully you've heard of it by now, right? We are 41 episodes into this.
I would
so if
imagine.
You're listening, I hope you have heard about it by now. I'm Gita Jackson. That's who I am. I'm Gita. And then I'm joined by, as ever, professional comic books expert, Alex Jaffe. How are you,
That's
Alex?
me. I am terrific. Here we are in the back stretch. Everything's coming together. I'm fresh off of watching the new Superman trailer, in case you want to know when we recorded this episode.
I really liked it so much. I loved the Lois. I knew she was going to be perfect, but
Rachel Brosnahan, honorary Jew.
Yes, exactly. Honorary Jew, Rachel Brosnahan. I knew she was going to be amazing. But, I mean, I liked the little hint that she's like a war nerd. I bet she listens to Popular Front, the Jake Hanrahan podcast. Yeah. But I also really like how they make his Superman's morality so clear just by showing that like the interview clip where he's like, people were going to die. I did not think about protocols of engagement because I was saving lives of human beings that were about to die. Thank you.
Yeah, this is like, we're really seeing a Lois Lane who grew up on military bases with her dad and just like bringing that to the fore. Yeah,
you can see how she became a reporter, right? And like how she got really into hard news, like global politics, because she was piggyback riding alongside all of that and absorbed all this knowledge, but it's also really, really, really headstrong.
I want to talk about Lex Luthor.
Oh my God.
Oh
he
my
looks
God.
so good. Why is he so suave?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nicholas Hoult, my boy from Skins. All Skins heads stay winning right now between Jack O'Connell in Sinners and Nicholas Holt's just incredible glow up. Skins heads everywhere are just feasting. It's so incredible. I love that show.
Yeah, I mainly know Nicholas Hoult from The Great, where he was terrific. He's just really knocking it out as Luthor right away.
Oh my God, he's
really gets the pettiness of him.
Okay, but he says Superman. Like he's so mad about it. It's fantastic. I love all their little outfits. Mm-hmm. I love the little hint of Metamorpho in the corner.
Yeah,
in that one jail there.
My boy NoHo Hank is Metamorpho.
NoHo Hank is gonna be so good. I'm fucking psyched for this. It's the classic Ayo Edebiri meme of her comment or Instagram comment somewhere, which is just like, I'm seated. The ushers are alarmed and telling me it's not July yet, but I'm simply too seated.
God, it's 2 months away. Maybe by the time you hear this, it'll be knocking on the corner. We've got a little bit of a backlog here, but you know we're going to be doing an episode about that in July.
Oh, absolutely.
For those of you subscribed to aftermath.site, you get monthly bonus episodes where we talk about things that aren't this comic. You know we're going to do a Superman ep.
There's no way we wouldn't do a Superman ep. I'm freaking out. I'm absolutely freaking out. Hello, Ella. What are you doing in the background there?
Ella the cat just showed up
Hello,
for this
Ella.
episode.
She also loves Superman, I've decided. And she's scratching her little face. Okay, Ella, she wants me to play with her really badly, and she hates when I podcast. So let's get this done. Yeah, let's get this over with so I can play with her.
Let's talk talent. Ella wants us to talk talent.
Yes,
we've got Giuseppe Camuncoli coming up on pencils. This is his first issue with 52. He's best known in DC for his work on Swamp Thing and Hellblazer, but he's also done work for Amazing Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man, Charles Soule's excellent Star Wars Darth Vader run, He also did The Other History of the DC Universe with John Ridley. He did Batman Europa. And he's currently working on Undiscovered Country with Scott Snyder for Image. So,
well, I don't like the premise of that series in that I think Snyder is not good at writing it, but I like the art a lot.
Right. Beautiful gowns.
Gosh, I read one issue of Undiscovered Country and I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But it's a collaborative medium. Am I right?
It sure is. Love the art. Rodney Ramos, our inker from last issue, follows us here. This is an important one. Cool cover. We got Renee Montoya meditating in front of a mirror of refracted 52 storylines.
It gives you one little hint about a very special character that shows up here, which I remember when this happened in real time, and I was hooting and hollering, fist pumping. Yeah. I was freaking screaming, crying, throwing up, that kind of thing. I mean, it really shows you, this cover, you immediately know who you care about and who you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, there's Adam Strange to the side, I guess. There's our boy Ralph. There's, is that Animal Man?
I don't know. There's two white men
here.
Yeah,
there's two white men here.
And we are not sure why one of them is here.
And there's Wonder Woman in civilian clothing talking to a bird.
We love it.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people were confused in this issue when it came out. I was reading the forums from 2007. Whether or not that was supposed to be Wonder Woman in this issue. But look, she's clearly got the silver bracer on her arm.
Yeah.
But
recognize the iconography, guys.
Exactly. You got to do a little bit of reading.
Yeah, you do. And also, like, even though the comics really reframe and change that moment in the lead up to Infinite Crisis, it was easy to forget while reading 52 that she did that, she killed a man.
Because, Wonder Woman is the only member of the Trinity who has not shown up in this series so far, and, despite the premise being none of them show up. Yeah.
And also, like, there was supposedly going to be, which will be a spin-off series to this that we will explore at a certain point. There was supposed to be, like, a war with Amazons, and they really didn't give a fuck about that when they were writing this.
Yeah, so. We'll talk about that at some point. Do we have to talk about Amazon's attack? Maybe for a bonus episode. I don't want to talk about Amazon's attack.
Maybe we'll do it, but right now... Listen, here the Cliff Notes version is it sucks.
Yeah.
And don't worry about it.
There are killer bees involved. Granny Goodness is impersonating Hippolyta. Why are there
always killer bees?
I think you know why.
Anyway, it's not a good comic. And I much prefer Diana's appearance here as what she was doing in between her doing the Infinite Crisis and the current day of the comics. It is so much more thoughtful, but we'll get to it.
It was something that Greg Rucka himself was not sure about. But once we get to that scene, we can talk about how they got there. But first, we have to go to space. We have to go back to space.
Oh my God. Day one, we're in fucking space with Coriander and Adam Strange. And this is maybe one of the better bits of dialogue. Once you get there, there is a good piece of dialogue between the two of them. I think the very end of this issue is like a fun moment for the space heroes. But again, they're in space. Shit's happening. We arrive in media res, and none of it matters. Literally, not a single part of this matters.
Yet another bounty hunter is chasing Adam Strange and Starfire, and Starfire's like, "Why are you still bothering us? Lady Styx is dead." And the bounty hunter's like, "I don't know, is she?" And
oh my God.
that's the scene.
That's the scene. That's it. That's it.
We get our title drop, Miracles and Wonders, because of our very special guest star this issue, I suppose. And that takes us to where we're supposed to be. It takes us to Nanda Parbat on day 2.
So Renee is doing her angst, wallowing in angst special, and she gets called out on this almost immediately. But firstly, she is at Nanda Parbat, and she has a rose that, not the terrorist organization, but the superheroine, Adriana. Adriana gave her this rose, and without soil, water, or sunlight, the rose has been thriving. And she is led to a line of inquiry that she has been trying to avoid thinking about, which is she needs to think about what she's going to do with her life now that Vic Sage is dead and she is not dead. Despite trying really hard to die for a very long time, she's not dead. And all of the characters she interacts with in this issue are trying to guide her towards the idea that it's like not a punishment for her to be alive. She has to do something with the opportunity that has been given to her. And she is resisting it super fucking hard.
I might go down this path, I might not. Did you watch the last episodes of Andor that just came out this week?
I haven't seen the very final ones I saw. I just watched 11. I just watched 10.
Okay. I don't know, there's this recurring theme throughout Andor about whether you live for a cause or whether you die for it and what that means. And sometimes the heroic thing is to go out, but that's not usually the case. What you do with your life is how you fight the war. And giving up your life for the cause is a noble thing. But, you know, the nature of the world, let alone comics, is that there's always going to be another fight. And if you're not around for the next one, then we might be worse off.
Yeah. She wants to be a martyr, but she unfortunately has been unsuccessful at martyring herself.
She's very pissed about the fact that she was led here by the Rose in like this last-ditch attempt to save Charlie, but it didn't work out. Like, that's ISIS's fault when she made that insane leap of logic herself.
Yeah, I know, right?
Which is a very the question sort of thing. To like, oh, the dots, I've connected them.
Yeah. I like also in this conversation she has with, what's the name of the martial arts master here?
Richard Dragon.
Richard Dragon takes her into a mirrored ice cave, which is like what is depicted on the cover. And he makes the distinction between, like, just because you are actually feeling your feelings this time and you're feeling grief and you're not trying to numb it with alcohol and like casual sex, that doesn't actually mean that you have accepted your grief and you've accepted the things that have happened to you, or that you have accepted yourself. He takes her, they have a little spar, and he literally takes her head and points it at the mirrored wall and is like, look at yourself. Yeah. What do you see? And she flees. She runs from it.
She literally runs from the cave.
It's really funny.
She can't even look at herself.
I'm imagining the Looney Tunes bongos, like
just leaving a U-shaped hole in the wall as you run from the camera.
Exactly. Yeah, she is still so far from where she eventually will blossom into as a new character, but it is like the last little bits of resistance here.
Yeah, she's not that far. She's one conversation away from it.
Fair.
It's going to take something pretty special, though. But we don't get that right now. Right now, we go back to the Haven from, like, the first quarter of the series.
I miss the Haven, frankly.
Yeah.
I love the Mad Scientist Island, but
Long Island,
Haven is such a special, weird place. Like, a facility that would have to exist also, you know? Like, where people are super competent, they literally can't, and also evil, they can't be in a normal prison. Like this weird suburban facility where they can be observed at all times, and I'm assuming contribute to the research of the U.S. government, which is known in the real world to collaborate with war criminals all the time.
Or they can get paper clipped.
Exactly. And in here, it's one of my favorite Dibny moments, this whole scene. I really love this. He is using his detective skills to determine exactly how multiple people at Haven have smuggled in things they should not be having. And it's great. It's fantastic. It's super fun. Especially because he doesn't give a fuck about Haven, anyone there, the rehabilitative effort, nothing. Like, it's very, very funny to me.
We see here Ralph Dibny putting together that T.O. Morrow was teleported out of his cell when the cameras missed all of it, because he's able to find, like, some kind of bullshit residue on the camera lens. And he approaches one of the last super scientists who is available that we haven't seen in this series, Professor Milo, who's kind of an obscure Bronze Age comic book pull, Silver Age comic book pull. He is an old Batman villain who basically turned people into werewolves. And
I fucking love comics.
Yeah.
love them.
Professor Milo, he makes a couple appearances in Batman the Animated Series, mainly as a Catwoman antagonist. He has maybe my favorite bit in Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, where he's like the one guy in Arkham who's like, I'm not a crazy person. I don't belong here. I'm just a scientist. I turn people into werewolves. But I know what I'm doing.
It's like, it's not a delusion. It's
No.
just normal for me.
It's real. I actually turned them into werewolves.
That would suck so hard. There's a comic I really enjoyed. I forget, an Arkham comic. And it's about basically how Arkham is so fucked up and underfunded that if you don't go in there a mad scientist, you will, or like an insane supervillain, you will also absolutely come out of there an insane supervillain. It's with that mobster, the Shark, who goes in there.
Oh, yes. Dan Slott's Arkham Asylum Living Hell. Great comic.
It's so fun. It's one of those things that can only exist in comics because it's just like a romp that has nothing to do with Batman or any of the Bat heroes. And it's just like, man, what is it actually fucking like to be in there if you're like a mobster? It's hilarious.
One of the few DC comics Dan Slott wrote, he's mainly known as a Spider-Man guy, controversially. He just came over like this week to start doing a new Superman run. It's pretty good so far.
Fun. I think that he has the tone, in the way that Spider-Man is like the flagship everyman Marvel hero, even though they have like this huge roster of Avengers or whatever, Spider-Man is the one that little kids really gravitate towards. I feel like the same tone is very necessary for Superman. Yeah. You have to make him feel like a regular dude. Because otherwise it just all falls apart. The moment Clark Kent feels like he's got like self-confidence, it just disappears. Like the character doesn't really work.
Oh, and the way Dan Slott accomplishes that is like the premise of his run is that this huge kryptonite meteor has hit the Earth. And now like literally everyone has kryptonite. Like even the smallest 2-bit criminals like, I got some kryptonite here.
It's so annoying for him. That's great because it gives him more Spider-Man-esque stakes while also not taking away everything we like. I should pick that up. Yeah. I need to just go to my local shop and finally start a pull.
Superman Unlimited is the name of that run.
Fantastic.
Okay, back to Professor Milo. They make up some bullshit here about how he's a scientist who dabbles in magic when he's not. The werewolves that he turns people into, that's super science. That has nothing to do with magic. They just didn't really have a magic guy. So they need that, though, because they ply this wheel off of his wheelchair and reveal that it's actually this like old magical wheel. It is the Silver Wheel of Nyorlath.
Is that a thing? I've been doing...
It is a thing. It's not a thing from, like, your magic. It's a thing from DC Comics.
Thank you.
I know you're actually studying magic, but this thing is...
In as much as anyone can actually study magic, right?
Yeah. Look, it's in that Alan Moore thing, in that the belief makes it real.
Yeah, exactly. Belief is a powerful tool. Anyway.
I believe in comic books, and this is a reference to the very first appearance of Felix Faust, whose tragic tale we read on Halloween for this series. The Wheel of Nyorlath is one of the 3 artifacts he used to summon these, like, 3 demons who recur throughout the Silver Age Justice League run. Wrath, Gast, and Abnegazar, I think, is the names. And it's same with, like, the link in that Beast's chain that we saw Ralph rounding up in Atlantis. He's gathering artifacts for some reason. He's setting up some kind of endgame ever since he confronted Ramakrishna and Nanda Parbat. We don't know what he's up to, but we know that he's wrapping it up and seems to be closing up shop for whatever purpose. So the authorities at the Haven Run-In, the docent is like, hey, you can't be stealing wheels off of old men's wheelchairs, man. He's like, you've just left Professor Milo in like a wretched heap on the floor. And instead of addressing it, he just walks through a magic portal with the Helm of Fate toddling behind him.
Yeah, the Helm of Fate seems to, there's a sense of urgency here. Yeah. Like where the Helm of Fate appears and the Ralph has a really shocked expression on his face and they just like gotta go.
The final hour is at last upon us.
That's what they love to say in
They do love
books.
to say that, but we do know there are 11 more issues of this. So how final can it really be?
The final hour is 11 weeks from now, actually. Yeah. So.
Final hour is about 3 months.
God. Now, this scene I really do like. We are back at Nanda Parbat, and
We're back, baby.
This interaction is so interesting. We are back. This is where Renee is just chilling again, feeling sorry for herself, and she sits down at a bench, and who's at the other end of the bench but Diana?
The most beautiful woman on earth, yes.
I mean, yes, the most beautiful. It's so Renee coded of her. I need a moment alone next to an extremely beautiful woman.
The first thing she does is try to hit on her, like
it's
very
really
half-heartedly.
Funny.
It's like, I'm kind of obligated to, I guess.
Yeah, it's my thing.
I love the expression Giuseppe draws on Renee's face here, where she's like, I don't feel like hooking up right now, but like, I feel like I kind of have to.
It's in my nature. I don't know what I'd say otherwise. Yeah, it's very, and like Diana lets her down easy. Like, let's just sort of like, Diana, okay, I like this interaction because they are both dealing with an incalculable level of grief and an identity crisis here.
Yes.
But Diana really is doing the work in a way that reveals how Renee is not doing the work at all. Diana is able to state outright why she is there. Renee asks her, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I killed a man." And she does it with like a totally accepting and taking responsibility for that action immediately. I did it. I killed someone. That is on me, and I need to reevaluate who I am because of that action.
Again, I want to dwell on the beat panel right after Diana says that, or there's just like one moment of silence that focuses on Renee's reaction to that and just processing everything we've been through on her journey so far. Renee also had to kill somebody in this whole journey, and that's also something she carries with herself. So she asks her the question that she's been asking herself since then. Did you have a choice? Because Vic told her when she killed that terrorist in Kondak at the wedding that she had to take her out. There was absolutely no way around it. And in this moment, this just absolute mess of a former Gotham detective and the literal goddess of truth are just standing in the same place.
Yeah, she is not able to name the things as eloquently or to take responsibility for them in the same way that Diana can immediately. Diana asks her why she's there, and she starts to break down right away. She turns her head away, she puts her face in her hands, and she stumbles out with it. My friend died. I was trying to save his life. He died from cancer. But that isn't even why she's there, really.
No.
She's there because a year ago, she started having a mental breakdown, and she's still experiencing so many layers of grief that she has not addressed.
Absolutely. I'm not going to say by name, but I have a very close friend who her mother passed away about a year ago, and she's been having a difficult time processing it. And just this week, her house went up for sale. And that was like kind of the thing that brought this all kind of crashing down, sort of a delayed reaction to what was going on with her this entire time. And just, we had a long conversation about the different ways that people process grief, and it can happen all at once, or it can be a thing that elapses over a very, very long time. And we've been seeing Renee work through this since Gotham Central literally ended. And just this entire process culminating in kind of this Campbellian literal meeting with the goddess, I suppose.
Yeah. I really, really, really like the panel layout for this page that concludes the conversation with Diana, because you see, like, in if you take the wide view of it, in the center of this 9-panel grid is a close-up on Diana's face.
It's
and
so
then
good.
Every panel around it, like a clock, is their bodies are angled in towards that face. And the expression that Diana is making there, Diana's like, if there's one thing that I do like that has came out of her killing Max Lord, is that she is so sure of herself in her decisions.
Yeah.
She comes out of it with total confidence. The reason why she was termed the hero that could, like, do the nasty stuff, blah, 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 is because she told someone.
She's about.
But it's also because her convictions are incredibly clear. She knows exactly who she is. And here she is at Nanda Parbat, probably as a respite to get back in touch with those convictions. But she doesn't lose herself. There is total confidence, which is exactly what Renee lacks.
This is one of the best scenes that Greg Rucka writes for 52. But again, the layouts here, which really make it shine, are all Keith Giffen. And the premise itself, as Rucka writes in the back matter notes, is something that he had struggled with a lot. He didn't know how to get Renee from that point of self-doubt to a point of taking the next step. And it was Mark Waid who told him, you talk about how much you miss writing Wonder Woman all the time. Now feels like the time to bring your two heroes together. And sometimes when you're like so deep into writing the thing yourself, you miss the big picture of like what is obviously supposed to happen in like the sense of what you're creating overall. And that's the kind of stuff that comes from this writer's room collaboration that makes 52 so special.
Yeah, this is pure comics, right? This is what people mean when they say pure comics. It's so many minds working in sync to deliver a really emotionally heartfelt story. Or even just a story that astonishes you, a story that wows you, a story that gives you both on the writing and the art level complete cohesion. It is beautiful. And then we go to the space heroes.
There's one more page where Renee finally, as the sunset, goes back into the mirrored cave and finally confronts what she was afraid to confront before, as she turns out the light and her face melts into the features of Ramakrishna, and all that's left is a wisp of question mark smoke. Yeah. Oh, God. It's so good.
Fucking comic books.
Yeah. Now we go back to space.
Now we go back to space where well, okay. This has a good payoff, the end of this scene. I kind of like this. Because it's like, well, they've been lost in space for so long, but essentially, Corey and Adam Strange are having a heart-to-heart. They're about to crash into a K-class sun, a big red sun, and they are not. Adam Strange is giving up, and Corey convinces him not to, essentially, is what this conversation amounts to. And they figure out a way to avoid the planet, or is it that they see something that eclipses the giant sun as they're crash landing into it? And it's a giant planet. They previously in the conversation, they say, we were told there was going to be Green Lanterns. Where are the Green Lanterns? And if you are a big-time Alan Moore Green Lantern head, you know exactly where this is going.
What's happened is that they are caught in the gravity of a sun, and then just a planet shows up out of nowhere where it wasn't before. And the planet catches their ship in its gravitational orbit. We see a Green Lantern interface with descend on the water landing of the ship on that planet's surface, talking to his partner, the planet itself. Mogo's here, baby.
Mogo's here. I love
our buddy Mogo.
Mogo's so good. I love Mogo. Oh, I'm just so happy to see him. And what a good use of this character too, right? That's a Green Lantern that it is actually really difficult to write a narrative or book around. But this is a perfect moment for Mogo to show up, right? Mogo is the only being that could have saved them in this moment. They needed to be able to be intercepted before they crash landed into the sun. What a better, they begin their narrative with a crash landing and they finally get rescued also with a crash landing. I like that mirroring at the two ends.
And this has got to be a treat for Grant Morrison, getting to play with some old Alan Moore stuff.
It would only be complete if somehow they worked in the F-sharp L also.
Yeah, Rotlop fan. I was going to bring that up. One of my favorite dudes.
Rotlop fan is so good, and I just hope when the Green Lanterns TV show comes out, there is some reference to Rotlop fan. I'm sorry, Alan Moore, but you did. That one's a gimme, I think. I think you knew that one would be given to the universe of DC. Right?
That's actually on my blackboard this week. So let's save that.
Let's save that.
I want to talk about the relationship between DC Comics and Alan Moore's
Let's definitely
dumpster.
do that.
But first we need to do the backup. We're talking about the origin of Starfire.
Oh my God, yes. I liked this origin a lot. Starfire is a character that was created for Teen Titans. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Yes, and I think a lot of young comics readers initially became familiar with her because of the Teen Titans show on Cartoon Network.
That's correct
where a lot of this stuff kind of gets, it gets edges smoothed off because it's a television show for kids, so you know that she has a rivalry with her sister, but not that she was sold into slavery. I know the costume is also less sexualized. But she is, I think, such a perfect kind of character that it was inevitable that she would pop off in the way that she has. She is now one of those, like Megan Thee Stallion dressed as Coriander for Halloween, right? She is an iconic character, not quite big as the sort of top 3 DC characters that they'll let do anything happen with, like Harley Quinn, the Joker, and Batman, Superman. But she is so recognizable, and I think it's just because that origin that leads her to the Teen Titans is such a fun one for kids in that age range. You want to leave your family and you want to escape an abusive relationship with your sibling, and you want to also make a name for yourself, not relying on anyone else. That's the story of adolescence in a big way.
I think Mark Waid does a great job in these 2 pages of capturing what is important about Starfire's character in a way that people miss.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks a lot to the fact that this February, just a few months ago, DC announced that they're doing a Starfire solo animated series. I just dropped
that makes so much sense.
Teaser art in the Discord. I've always said that, out of all of the original characters created for Wolfman's Titans, Raven, Cyborg, I think Starfire has the most solo potential to be their big space hero.
I completely agree. And I think part of it is because she's black, right?
Yes, Starfire is black.
Starfire is, literally she is the color orange, but she's always had a big, really curly hair and black facial features, with the broad nose and the big thick lips. She has always brought blackness. And she, I think, is specifically interesting to and relatable to Black women and femmes. Again, Megan Thee Stallion dressed up like her. So there is that natural synchronicity between the character and Black women. And I think that the DC does know that they don't really have any marquee Black characters at all, let alone Black female characters. So fingers crossed.
I have heard that Starfire was based on the Puerto Rican performer Iris Chacon. I don't think that's ever been confirmed, but when you see them side by side, it's kind of undeniable.
Oh, the hair is a dead giveaway.
But when you saw Anna Diop play Starfire in Titans, for all that show's flaws, the casting for Starfire in that series, she did an amazing job as her.
The only thing that hamstrung her was the bad wigs, but she did great. Yeah.
She did great.
Yeah, the wig budget was not her fault.
No, absolutely not. Not her problem. The fact that they were a show that was being made for DC Universe, a streaming service that only had DC shows on it.
Everybody was clamoring for that, right? Yeah. Everybody wanted that. Everyone wanted Pennyworth, the story of Batman's
the origin of Batman's butler. That wasn't even a DC Universe show. That was an Epics show. God.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
Man.
I don't need to, and I won't.
Yeah.
But I someday need to actually watch that show and figure out what the fuck they thought they were doing.
There's 2 things I know about Pennyworth, the origin of Batman's butler. Number 1 is that there is a storyline about him sleeping with Queen Elizabeth and then ghosting her. And second, the 3rd and final season is a prequel to V for Vendetta.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
They set up the origin of V. Oh, why do they do that? Why do they keep adapting Watchmen, Gita?
Oh yeah, because they like money. They got the big bucks. Yeah. Okay. Let's move this into favorite scenes so we can get to the blackboard.
Yeah. Favorite scenes. My favorite scene in this was obviously the meeting with Wonder Woman. It's the centerpiece of the whole issue. It's the best. The panel work, the dialogue, the just where it lands in the pacing of the series. It's perfect.
No, that is the best scene in this comic. I will give you that. But my favorite scene has to be Mogo showing up.
Yeah.
Like, it just is for me. That's just for me.
That's your
a little treat
post-credit
for
Marvel
me.
movie scene.
Yeah, no, I just like to see him.
Yeah.
I love Green Lanterns. I really do. In the same way that I love police procedurals occasionally, where it's just like, I love watching people solve workplace problems.
Yeah.
You know? And the idea of just like,
yeah,
I don't know, this is throughout the expansive phase of space, different beings from different worlds and indeed living planets themselves can find commonality and fight for and try to save people. That makes me happy. Just makes me happy.
I'm reminded of John Rogers, the creator of Leverage. He has a thing he says that I always think about, that all people want to see on TV are attractive men and women solving moderately difficult problems while they trade quips.
Yeah.
If you could do those three things, you have a hit TV show.
Yeah, that's true. That's real.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. So what do you want to put on the blackboard this episode?
Oh, my gosh. What do I want to put on the blackboard? I mean, who was this guy that they were fighting in the beginning of this issue? Who is that man? Whose mans is this? Like, who, like, I don't care, and I find it irritating that they keep doing this to the space hero, introducing a guy with a costume and then killing him. But literally, like, I look at him and I'm just like, why did you go through all this trouble? Why did you do it?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the long-running Alan Grant Lobo series, where every issue they'd introduce some kind of loser alien bounty hunter for Lobo to just completely destroy. This is just some anonymous member of the large bounty hunter community where if he had not died in this issue, Lobo would probably have killed him in the next one.
Dumb bastard. Yeah, he's good. That's what it's in the spirit of. And okay, it allows me to appreciate it on a very basic level. It's just like, okay, in space there's a bunch of weirdos, I guess.
In space there's a bunch of disposable alien weirdos. The only way to survive in space as an alien weirdo is if you end up with a Green Lantern ring on your finger. Otherwise, you're frag bait. Speaking of which, I want to talk about when it is not okay to steal from Alan Moore, because this comes up a lot.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I think it's not okay when it's very clearly an original concept that he created in an independent universe, which he should by all rights own himself. Why doesn't Alan Moore own the rights to V for Vendetta or Watchmen? That's some true fuckery of the highest level.
I think it's extremely chill to riff on those concepts, like with Peter Cannon Thunderbolt.
Yes.
Like, to say, let me take some of these ideas and then use different original characters to comment on these other ideas with my own opinions. That is a very cool thing and is, in fact, I think, in the spirit of what Moore was doing. You are taking on his lineage in some way without outright stealing from him.
But taking literally Promethea to meet the Justice League,
you should be in fucking jail. Like,
that
I'm
shit
not
ain't
kidding.
cute.
That shit ain't cute. No.
But the other side of that is that Alan Moore came up in a work for hire environment, which he understood and appreciated and loved being a part of before he was screwed by it. He begged to do whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. The work that Alan Moore did during his very short time on Green Lantern and his longer time on Swamp Thing, especially with like the creation of John Constantine and the entire mythology of the Green, that stuff is there. He put that there for, with Swamp Thing specifically, he put that there for other people to elaborate on. People forget that the first issue of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing was, before he got into the whole anatomy lesson, an issue that brought all of the storylines of the run that preceded him to like their logical end. He was like, okay, let's actually deal with this. Let's be respectful of the person who came before us and build on that. And with Swamp Thing, where he basically reinvented the entire mythology, it's really cool to see people revisiting those Alan Moore stuff. Green Lantern is a bit of a gray area. Because I think he wrote those stories where Mogo and Rotlop Fan appear to be like one and done stories, like expand your mind for what a Green Lantern can be. And spiritually, it feels to me a little bit like when The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen changed the way everybody thought about comics. And then the way people iterated on that was just making a bunch of shit that was exactly like that, rather than using that as a template to expand what comics could be.
Yeah. What I feel like is it was an attempt from Moore to sort of pass the ball, right? Like,
Yes.
I've got this ball and I'm playing with it, and the ball is new, weird, cool Green Lanterns. And he wanted to pass that off to someone else so they could make new, weird, cool Green Lanterns.
Yes.
But they kept playing with the same two Green Lanterns.
They kept playing with Mogo. And a big part of that is Jeff Johns. But the other side of that is that while I appreciate the complaints that that we're not moving the ball forward, Mogo is such a cool ball to play with.
I know.
I love Mogo.
I just love him. He's a living planet, and also he is canonically just incredibly gentle and kind. He can't really fight, so a lot of the time he just sort of floats through the universe, caring for all of the beings that live on him. And it's like you can feel the Earth Goddess Gaia stuff coming out of that idea, right?
In Green Lantern, the animated series, he's like Saint Walker's boyfriend. It rules.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love Mogo. I just love him.
My favorite adaptation of Alan Moore's work outside of comics is there was this animated movie anthology called Green Lantern Emerald Knights, very underrated, which is just almost animatrix style. Here's a bunch of stories about different Green Lanterns.
Fun.
And one of them is an adaptation of the original Mogo Doesn't Socialize, with Nathan Fillion as Hal Jordan doing the narration, and Rowdy Roddy Piper as Bolfunga the Unrelenting, the guy who comes to fight the greatest Green Lantern, only to realize at the end it's a planet. And it's just, it adds so much
wonderful
to the original story.
Oh, I should
could
watch
not recommend that highly enough. Green Lantern Emerald Knights. It's so good.
Okay, I'll definitely watch this. This sounds so cute, so fun. I think you're right in that it's like Mogo showing up in this comic is fine, because this comic came out in 2008, 2007, 2008. There was a dearth of Mogo before this, and then there was Mogo again. I think since then, just make up your own weird Green Lantern. If you want to play with Alan Moore's tools, which he left for you as a writer for hire, you need to take his ball and run with it instead of just continuing to play with the same ideas over and over and over again.
All right. With that, I think it's time to go to asking the questions. We have one question this week from Andrew. If you would like to submit your own questions for us to address on this show, you can write into 52mailbag@gmail.com, where we will just take off on whatever you want us to talk about. This one starts like this. Hi, y'all. The existence of the new DC Marvel crossover comics has me thinking about the extremely unlikely possibility of new amalgam comics. If possible, please pitch me your best and worst character to amalgamize with the question. Would you pick different characters for Vic versus Renee?
This is a really interesting question. So for the general concept of the question, we're looking for essentially another detective.
I mean, right? I know who
in
I'm
the Marvel
picking.
Universe. Who are you picking?
I am picking Spider-Man Noir. I think that's the guy who is Vic Sage in the Marvel cosmology.
Yeah, that works for me. I think we're both hamstrung a little bit by our lack of Marvel knowledge, but we are not Marvel deep cut people in the same way that we are DC deep cut people. I think the worst possible pick is just based on aesthetics. The worst possible pick for Vic Sage is Gambit. So just thinking about the coat,
the coat most and swagless loser of all time.
I know. Can you possibly imagine?
Yeah.
But there's something about it aesthetically that works, but personality-wise, it's just can you imagine having a conversation with that man? It would be terrible.
For Renee Montoya, I'm going to talk about when Brian Michael Bendis came over to DC. The thing that I wanted to see him do was Renee Montoya, because he was so good at doing Jessica Jones over at Marvel.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
If you're going to amalgam Renee Montoya, it's got to be Jessica Jones. Mm-hmm. It just has to be.
Yes,
that's the only option.
Renee Montoya. Yes.
Yeah.
The worst person to amalgamize at Marvel with Renee is, who's the messiest bitch at Marvel? Oh, Emma Frost.
Yeah, Emma Frost. I mean, it's the same sort of lack of accountability and introspection. That would be really, really funny. Oh my gosh. Or Black Cat.
Oh, yeah.
Black Cat would also...
You can't not amalgamize Black Cat with Catwoman.
That's true. I guess she's stuck.
She's stuck.
She can only be cat-based heroes.
Yeah, she can only be cat.
Gosh, but I think best possible future for an amalgam Renee Montoya is definitely Jessica Jones.
I think so.
She's the most DC-esque character. One of the most DC-esque characters in Marvel, I would say. Yeah. And that she's just like a lady. She's very Kate Spencer, the Mark Andreyko's Manhunter. This is a bit of a shorter episode, so I thought maybe for this one, we'd play a little Crack Ship Crisis. What do you think? Oh boy, let's do it. Let's absolutely do that. That's so fun.
Okay, for those unfamiliar, I am taking 2 randomly rolled characters from the DC Comics wiki. And we are going to decide how well they would work as a romantic pairing. Okay. Our first is Darkseid, and specifically the Michael Rosenbaum Lex Luthor from Smallville.
Honestly?
Yeah.
That they might be able to get it together. Honestly, I was like really bracing myself for what character would be shipped with Darkseid. But I think the Michael Rosenbaum Lex Luthor, I think that he is just motivated by his desire to sleep with his childhood best friend. Yeah. So I think that maybe they might be able to get together on a second love type ship, you know?
Yeah. That sounds right to me. This one is Terry 13 and Perry White. This is a weird one.
No, that's illegal. Sorry, no.
Sorry.
He's going to jail.
They're going to kill each other. Yeah. Okay, we've got Cameron Chase from the Great Chase series. And Wonder Woman?
No.
Could work. No?
Actually, yeah, I'm with it.
We know Wonder Woman is willing to date authority figures because of the whole Steve Trevor thing. So I don't think her being a DEO agent would turn her off.
I think she could. I mean, I don't think it'd be a long-term relationship. No. But they'd have some fun. They'd have like a fun, cool weekend, a fun vacation.
Yeah, Wonder Woman is able to love anybody, but I don't know if Cameron loves herself enough to make that last.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, I'm sure they'd part amicably, but it would probably be like a short-term fling.
Okay, here we've got Aquaman and the Joker.
I want to see that happen. I know it would be a disaster, but I want to see it happen. It's the thing.
Do you remember the laughing fish story where the Joker poisons all the fish in Gotham so that they look like him and tries to copyright them?
Yes.
That was a Steve Englehart story from the 70s. Years later, Englehart came back to do a sequel to that story where Aquaman goes to see Joker and be like, hey, what the fuck? Why are you Jokerizing all the fish in my ocean?
That's so funny. Oh my God. That's a slap kiss situation for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Right, let's do one more.
That's really funny.
Ooh, okay. All right. One last one. We've got, what do you think about Mr. Freeze and Alfred Pennyworth?
Ooh, Old Man Yowie.
Old Man Yowie.
Old Man Yowie.
Old Man Yowie.
Wait, I wasn't expecting Old Man River to show up. Old Man Yowie.
Do you not think that every time you hear the phrase Old Man Yowie?
No, I don't think that, but now I will. Now I will. I enjoy it. I think that's good. I think that's good because, like, Alfred is so at peace with his past life and the things he's lost, and Mr. Freeze obviously isn't. That's why he's Mr. Freeze. Yeah. And if he could come together for a moment, I think Alfred could help heal his frozen heart.
Yeah. They're both very stoic people, but Mr. Freeze's stoicism is like that Rage Comics guy of like the content mask over the crying face.
Yeah,
whereas,
exactly.
Alfred's kind of the real deal.
Alfred, I'm sure, reads Marcus Aurelius every morning. You know? He's like, Master Bruce, here's my stoicism quote for you this morning. And like trying so hard to get Bruce Wayne into stoicism. And he's like, I guess it's not working. I guess you're just going to have to dress up like a bat, huh? Like you really, I tried.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
I like that one. All right.
Someone write that for us, please. If you write that fic, send it to us, please. Can you say the email again? I always forget.
52mailbag@gmail.com, where for a bonus episode, we'll read your fan fiction. At least an excerpt.
At least an excerpt.
Yeah. We're not going to
Okay.
read the whole thing if you write a book, but we'll read something. What a great time. And this is traditionally the part of the show where I open the floor to general questions. And I'm seeing some hands. Yes.
I've got one.
Yes. Mix Jackson in the front row.
Are you ready?
This interview's over.
"52 Pickup" is an Aftermath production created by Gita Jackson and Alex Jaffe and edited by Esper Quim with original music by John Aron. Hosting for 52 Pickup is provided by Insert Credit. The views and opinions expressed on this show are solely those of the show's personalities and do not reflect those of DC Entertainment or Warner Brothers. Please rate and review our show wherever you can and send your questions and comments to 52mailbag@gmail.com. Never stop reading comics.